The following presentation is a production of Ride the Wave Media.
Welcome to Let Yourself Bloom, the podcast where motherhood and ambition coexist beautifully. I'm your host, Jen Banks, and in each episode, we'll dive deep into the journey of being more than a mom. Here, we believe that you can love your children deeply and still have room to nurture your own dreams. Picture this, a life where you don't have to choose between career and family, where you can be inspired by stories of women who have boldly stepped into their dual roles. Together, we'll explore how to balance, grow, and thrive in every season of life. Our guests will share their personal stories of finding identity beyond motherhood, proving that you can hold both your family and your ambitions in your heart. We'll talk about the seasons of life, embracing our unique paths, and giving ourselves permission to bloom whenever we're ready. Whether you're a working mom of two or dreaming of a bigger family, whether you're a stay-at-home mom seeking more or a career-driven woman balancing the chaos, this podcast is for you. Listen in and let the stories, advice, and community support you in becoming the fullest version of yourself. Tune in, be inspired, and remember, you are worthy of the same love and care you give to others. Welcome to Let Yourself Bloom. Let's grow together. I am here today with Michelle Lena of the Limitless Podcast. How are you today, Michelle?
Hello. I'm fabulous. Thank you for having me.
We are part of the same podcast network, but we've been friends for close to a year now. So very exciting.
Ooh, it's our anniversary. Happy anniversary to us.
There you go. Yes. Well, I love to start out each episode by asking someone a question from my Table Topics deck. I will just pull one out. I will read it for you.
Okay.
It says, who is someone that you know that can be happy in any situation?
Ooh, who is somebody that I know that can be happy in any situation? I'd like to say myself, but that's not true. Let's just be honest. That's not me at all. Actually, my fiance, I've never met anyone like him. He chooses to be happy. It's a mindset, and he's taught me every single day since we've been together. He wakes up and I'm like, how are you? He's like, I'm happy. And I said, why do you say that so much? And he says, because I'm reminding myself it's a choice to be happy. And I choose happy every single day because then I'm going to see the happiest faces, the happiest hearts. And it's landed me in the happiest place. I found you. So he is the first person that, does he still have bad days? Yes, but very, very, very few, because it's a mindset and it's something that I am definitely, I choose a word every day, but I don't choose happy every day. And that is his word, hands down, every single day. He's just going to be happy.
Well, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I know that we're not always supposed to be happy. We're here to experience all the emotions, but if we can keep happiness kind of as our medium and we get back to happy after we've gone those different ways, I think that's a great goal to have. So thank you for those reminders.
I think it's important that for me, I can't be happy every day. That's just not my mindset. He said, well, I've gone through a lot, and so I'm just choosing to be this way so I don't have to go through so much again. I know we're going to go through it, but I, at the end of the day, like to point out 5 points of happiness. If I had 5 points of joy, 5 points that made me smile, 5 points that made me laugh, then I think that's a good day. I think that's a reasonable milestone for any of us to have, is 5 points of happiness every single day.
That's great. That's a beautiful goal to strive for. Well, it's just so good to have you, Michelle. I was on your podcast and now I get the pleasure of interviewing you.
Bring it on.
And you are my first traditional interview style. So we will just do some, talking as if we didn't know each other, I guess. But we do know each other. So that just adds a whole layer of familiarity and conversation that just really makes it feel organic and fun. So let's just dive in.
All right. What do you want to know? I'm an open book.
Yes. Well, what I want to know is, how have you taken professional or personal development and made it a part of you? Because from my standpoint, I just see you taking all of these classes to better yourself, and you are a speaker on stages, and you're a coach for trauma. So walk us through kind of that journey.
How do I take personal development professionally and personally? I think, first of all, they're two totally different things. They will marry together because everything marries together in our life. But professionally, for me being a master coach, I take that very seriously. Just like if you were an educator or a doctor or a nurse, you should have continual education in your career. You should stay on top of the new modalities and be able to facilitate anything that needs to be done in your sphere of expertise. So I'm always mindful that I need to be constantly learning. And when I'm not, that's when I absolutely see a dip in my practice. And so if I'm constantly enjoying learning and developing and taking either simple, it can be as listening to a podcast, reading a new book, or reviewing some of my favorite books. I just got done reading The 4 Agreements again. It's one of my favorite books. It's super simple, but it just puts you in the right mindset. Now, personal development, I think, has been a lifelong, intimate journey to really unearth Michelle. And I think it really started when I was 45, where I finally said, oh my goodness, I'm having this experience. And I think when you live to a certain point, you just get more experience and more experience. We talked about that. Even, you're younger than me, but you go through so much. And with that experience, life gives you a gift, and I call that knowledge and wisdom and perspective. And all of a sudden I can turn around and look at my life and I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to choose. And at 45, I started to really choose myself and really put myself first for the first time, because as a mother, I was thinking I need to put my babies first. I need to put my marriage first. I needed to even put my religion first. I was putting everything before me. And then at 45 was my wake up and go, wait, you have this beautiful gift. This person, this child, this human is your responsibility, and you need to honor this gift and take care of this gift. And I started to really unpack some things that I didn't want to carry with me and really expand things that made me happy. So long answer, but that's kind of my thoughts on self-development and personal development.
That's so good. And I love that you did really articulate that they are two separate things, and you really spent some good time defining each one. So thank you for doing that. And I'm going to turn it on you. And in your podcast, you asked me, who am I? So what is the question, or what is the answer that you get when people ask, who are you?
I love this question, and I do ask it to almost every single person. And it was the reason why I ask it is because this question was given to me as a gift from my first college professor. And it was a communication class. And he said, describe who you are in one word. You can only choose one word to define yourself and your journey that you're going to go on. You're young. But if you could just pick one word to really figure out who you are, and it really stuck with me, and I really wrestled with who am I at such a young age. I was just starting college, figuring out what I want to do next, and I came up with the word real. I wanted to live real, and for me, that means to be the most authentic, honest, trustworthy. And I wanted to just really show life that when it was messy, I was going to be messy with it. When it was joyful, I was going to be joyful with it. But I was just going to live as real as possible, because there's no hiding that. And that's what I named my coaching practice. It's called Real Coaching. And when I sit in those spots where I'm just authentic and just tender and passionate about living in that space, I show up the best. Now, have I always done it? No, but I bet 90% of the time that is the word that's bouncing around the back of my head. Just be real, just be you, because there's only, out of 8 billion people, there's only one Jen and there's only one Michelle. So I might as well just live this version the best I can.
Oh, that is beautiful. Pure wisdom. I will definitely go and create or choose my word that defines me at this stage, because I've done that in my book where I say, okay, choose your purpose word, but that's different than even just defining who you are. So I love that challenge, and I'm going to take it. And I encourage the listeners to take it as well. Who are you in one word?
Yes, it really does break down some barriers and makes you sit in just a different seat. And we don't ask that question very often. Just really, who are you? That simple, powerful message. Yeah, I love that your listeners challenging them to do that, and yourself. You have to let me know when you pick your word. I know a lot of people pick a word for the year, like I had soar or intentional or determined, but just a word that honors this gift, this body. What would it be? What would that gift be to yourself? What would that look like? So, yeah.
And I love adding all of these things in because I've defined my core values, and then I started to define my core values for my business, and now I can define a word for myself. So beautiful. That was a great thing that was in alignment. So thank you.
This is like a little bouquet, because you always say, you're adding a bouquet. So now you have 3 flowers, and you should have 3 pillars, I always say. So you just come up with your 3rd pillar, and now you're going to have this strength and this, yes.
I love it. Beautiful. Well, when is a time in your life that you felt like you bloomed? You were a different version, and then you felt like you transitioned into a different version of yourself.
I think, in honesty, that I'm constantly blooming, that I really understand that there is a season, and that there's, summer, winter, spring, fall, all of these different seasons. And sometimes I'm blooming in the winter, and sometimes I'm blooming in the summer. I don't think there's one particular moment. I think that I'm just mindful that whatever season I'm sitting in, if it's something that I'm going through that is challenging, like let's just take something trivial. Right now, I'm having a small back issue, and that can be, I can label it a certain way or I can label it another way. But I always say, when my back goes out, and I've been dealing with this since I was 22 years old, so this has been a lifetime issue. And so I can say, oh my gosh, I'm broken, my back can't, and it limits me from, and all of these negative labels. But what I choose to do every time my back is flaring up and it puts me horizontal in bed for a day or up to a week, I always say life is giving me a gift that it's telling me to slow down. It's telling me to pause. It's telling me to reflect. It's telling me to go inward. It's telling me to tap into my knowing, into my spirit, and trust that my body can heal itself. And so I have learned to embrace this obstacle as a gift instead of fighting it, because if I fight every time my back goes out and I whine about it, it just makes it last longer. So I understand that if I just breathe through this, it's like the dirt is being tilled up, and then I'm just going to take a breath and continue to bloom. And I think we need to realize that we're constantly just growing and blooming and gathering our bouquet and smelling it and enjoying it, and then we have to grow again to make another, beautiful arrangement.
I love that. You are so right. We're fluid, we're changing, and we're always blooming as long as we allow the process. My publisher talked about the flower, and you'd never put a rubber band on a flower to not let it bloom. You just kind of allow and you choose. And so I love that you went right along with that. I feel like it's easy to do plant analogies, and so it works well in the conversation.
I love your plant analogy. I think we need to mirror nature, because nature is the biggest lesson. I think God, the universe, wrapped us in nature for a reason. And if we just stop and pause, there's always an answer right in front of us. And it is so obvious, but we don't sit in those moments to even look at a hummingbird. So we have 2 hummingbird feeders in our house, and we have a rule. If a hummingbird is at the feeder, and you're out the kitchen window and you see it, you have to stop. Doesn't matter what you're doing, you have to stop, and we respect the hummingbird, because they last 10 seconds to 30 seconds. But it just reminds me that we need to stop and to be present and to feel our own breath, and just to, I usually say 3 things that I'm grateful for. And then I always say every hummingbird is my mom, because my mom's crossed over. And I'm like, boy, my mom visits me so much now compared to when she was alive. So I just think that we just need to embrace those moments and look for answers. And 90% of the time I find my answers in nature. So I love that you chose the flower. I think it's a powerful analogy.
So good. And I love that life lesson there, to just be in the moment when that hummingbird is there, to just stop what you're doing and be there. I gave a Toastmasters speech on Thursday, and we talked about how you started in Toastmasters. And the speech that I gave was living like you're on vacation, even when you're not.
Ooh,
And
good one.
my 3 points were to be present, and being on vacation really helps you with that, because you are changing your surroundings and it kind of resets you to wake up and you're out of the norm. And then to connect deeply, because you deliberately set aside time to spend with loved ones and family and friends on vacation. So doing that in your own life. And then 3 was to embrace the unknown and just switch up your routine. I did share your tip to brush your teeth with your left hand or your non-dominant hand.
Yes.
Or just to go outside for 5 minutes and breathe, or to unplug for an hour. Just all of those things that kind of reset you or get you out of your routine.
I love that you shared the tip about the left hand, because it mixes your brain. It makes your brain go, what are we doing? And just, it makes you really present. Because if you're doing something with your non-dominant hand, you have to be mindful and think and stay in the moment. And I think most people just get so lost, and we're jumping ahead often so far that we can't even appreciate where we are standing, what we are looking at, who we are speaking to, because we're already jumping ahead. So yeah, vacation is great for that, because you have to be really present. It's an unknown environment, and where are you navigating, and just what food, the noise, the sound, the music, but you can create that in your own life. I have that in my practice. I tell people, drive to work in a different way, wear different colors, get dressed in a different pattern. If you always put your shirt on first, put your pants on first. Just switch up your day at least once a week, and you'll change the way your brain is firing, and it will help you with clarity and focus and decision making.
I love that. Thank you for expounding on that and reminding us of those things, because we are kind of wired to have routines, and routines are good, but when they're to our detriment is when we're just so in the rut of the routine that we forget to look around. We forget to be present. And people are always asking, how do you be present? And those are some great tips to just really bring you back to the moment.
Well, I think routine is absolutely critical. We need to have healthy patterns. And with healthy patterns and healthy habits, we can create pivot points for change. But our whole life is about healthy patterns and healthy routines, and our whole life's also about the unhealthy ones, and we need to see which ones are serving us and which ones are not. And the way that we can stop the patterns is by switching it up, so you have a moment to sit in that space and to make a decision. Oh my gosh, I just stopped and I realized that I keep doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. I need to stop this pattern and slide back into something more healthy. So we are creatures of habit. I mean, how often have you driven someplace, you're like, how did I even get here? Because you're driving on autopilot. So when I feel that, I realize, oh my gosh, I need to take a moment to ground myself. And I love that you said one of the things, just go outside and stand on Mother Earth and let that energy flow in you, and take a moment and just breathe. So
Well, I am one who loves themes, and I've definitely seen a theme pop up as we've been talking. Choice.
yes.
With your fiance, choosing to be happy, with you and your
Yes.
back, and choosing to go through it a different way. And again, just getting off of autopilot and choosing to be deliberate about our actions and our choices and our life. I love choice, so I feel like we should talk about that for a moment. How have you learned the importance of choice, I guess?
I love this question. The importance of choice is everything, because that's owning your own power and driving your own vehicle, or being your own architect of your life, designing your life because you are choosing it. Choices we make thousands and thousands of mindless choices every single day because we live on autopilot. I realized when I was unearthing who I was that the importance of choosing everything. And we don't even think about the simple thing about even like getting dressed. The way I used to get dressed and the way I get dressed today, what colors I'm choosing, what textures I'm choosing. Little things matter because color matters, and the way you feel and the quiet confidence that come out when you choose everything. And so having that ownership over my life and know that I'm directing my life one choice at a time. And you don't need to be overwhelmed, but realizing, hey, if I'm sitting in a space, I'm going to listen to my mind, my heart, my spirit, my gut, my knowing, and then I'm going to make the best choice for this human to move forward on the path that I'm choosing this human to move forward on. Because this human is a gift, and I need to really, as mothers, I thought of this. If I ask you, how much do you love your child? And what would you do for your child, your 3 little boys? What would be the answer?
Everything.
Everything. But we don't do that for ourselves. We don't think of us as our own child, that you've been gifted this vessel, this body, this human, and it is the most precious child you have. And I realized that I needed to choose and make better choices. And that was part of me becoming more Michelle, to say the least.
Yes. In chapter 3 of my book, I talk about soul care, which is really just the gold standard of self-care, and really just asking yourself 2 questions. How do you feel? What do you want? And that can guide our choices. As we live intentionally, we always are checking in. How am I feeling? What's going on around me? And then what do I want because of this? How do I make that happen? You know, like you said, being the driver of your life instead of just being on autopilot.
I love that. How do I feel? And what was the second point?
What do I want?
What do I want? That makes me think, I have my clients go, if you're buying something, eating something, wearing something, do you love it? Does it bring you joy? And if it doesn't, if it's not letting you feel love and joy, then maybe you should reflect and make a different thought, a different direction, a different movement, a different choice. Because sometimes we just mindfully do something, but to know that we can choose the love, I think that's powerful, because it is just that. Even in the hardest moments, it reminds me, my son was 1 year old and he got diagnosed with a really rare bone-eating cancer. And it was literally one of the worst days of my life. He just turned 1. His birthday is December 20th, and Christmas was just a couple of days away. And the doctor called and said, I don't know if you're going to have another Christmas. And I'm just was devastated. And I remember I had to go downstairs, and that we had a small gathering because this has been going on for a couple of days. What's going on with him? What we're going to do? What are going to be the results? And so we knew we were expecting this phone call, and quite a few neighbors had come over, and I had to go downstairs to say it wasn't good. And I remember laying on my bed and just pleading with God, like, what am I supposed to do? And he said, I heard this, like, keep living. And so I went down there and told them what had happened, that it might not be the best outcome. This might be his last Christmas. But just like you said, I wanted to make an experience that it wasn't his last. It was just, we're going to celebrate today and celebrate what we have, because we never know when it's going to be taken away. And my neighbor came upstairs after everyone left, and she said, here's a journal. Write down 5 things that you're grateful for today. And I said, I don't think I can list anything really. She goes, yeah, I want you to write down 5 things every single day while you go through this journey with your son, while you're celebrating his life. I want you to write down. And I sat there, and I remember staring at the paper going, and I ended up writing 100 things. And it was one of the most beautiful days of my life when I sat in that space of seeing what I was grateful for instead of seeing all the hard. The hard was easy to see, but the other stuff, it was all around me, but I was only focusing on the hard, on this one word, cancer, instead of all of this beautiful tapestry of love and friendship and kindness. And that is where I decided to focus. And so that has been a beautiful gift.
I love that you were able to zoom out right there while you were in the moment, because oftentimes we don't or can't do that until we look back on a situation, but your friend invited you to do that in the moment. So that's huge, to just really think about what you're grateful for and how much power that had in changing everything.
It changed everything. And it's a practice. My son is going to turn 30 in December. And so this is something that I've been very mindful. And I think it's one of the greatest gifts another human has given me, is just to go, no, at the end of every day, what are your 5 points where I always say there's 5 points of happiness, but the one that I like even more, where's the 5 points that I'm grateful for?
Yes. And I'm going to bring in that choice word again. I choose to be grateful, because you could choose not to be grateful, but by doing those exercises, you were choosing gratitude.
Yes, exactly. You nailed it. Everything comes down to that, because I could choose the hard or I could choose the gratitude. And it's definitely a mindset, and it was a practice. And every day when the hard showed up, because it was challenging, but I really leaned into, I'm going to choose gratitude. And I love that simple tool that she gave me. I think of all the gifts that I've been given, material things, but really her gift of that journal and just teaching my mind where to go 30 years ago has been my saving grace and one of my greatest gifts that someone has given me. I love it. I love it. I love her for it. She's amazing, and she's still a dear friend today. So.
Well, what a great note to end on. I just love that that's been another theme, is that you see things as a gift. You talked about knowledge as a gift. You talked about experience as a gift, and just different things that people share with you. And I think that really shapes the way we view life. If we choose to see things as gifts, and we choose to just cultivate the mindset that will really just bring us present and into reality. So thank you for helping us bloom, Michelle. Is there anything else that you want to share today?
I love that we ended on a gift, because I believe your friendship is a gift. Life is a gift. And if we celebrate this person and the gift that it is, then you will see every single day a little bit different, and choose the best path. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Let Yourself Bloom, where we embrace the beauty of balancing motherhood and ambition. I hope today's episode has inspired you to nurture your dreams while being the incredible mom that you are. Remember, it's not just about finding balance, it's about thriving in all aspects of your life. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with other amazing women. And if you're the kind of person who loves to watch podcasts, you can find this podcast on my YouTube channel at LetYourselfBloom_ with Jen Banks, or on the Ride the Wave Media Podcast Network YouTube channel. Remember to stay connected with us on social media at LetYourselfBloom_ with Jen Banks, and join our community to keep blooming together. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep growing, and let yourself bloom.